To the September 3rd, 2019, official time is 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. At this time, I need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask if we can add real estate to the executive session.
Do we have executive session?
We don't have executive session.
We'll have to
We're
put it
having-
next time.
Yeah, we'll do it next time.
Okay.
That way give opportunity to announce it, because we had another request for executive session too.
Okay,
We can put it on next time. That's
good.
Can it
All right.
wait?
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
it's a grand opportunity, but yeah,
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
thank you.
All right, with that said, I need a motion approval of the agenda.
So moved, Chairman.
All right, second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. It's our pleasure tonight to have our very own Michael Wood who's going to do the invocation and pledge, our Assistant Recreation Director.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, little one. Good day to be alive, isn't it? Let's just bow our heads. Father, we thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to just be able to serve you wherever we go and whatever you do in and through us. Lord, we just pray tonight as we come together to conduct business that's necessary and very important, that we don't forget how important it is to us to rely on you and not ourselves. Although wisdom is something that we do have, but sometimes wisdom is something we need more of, especially when there are certain things that needs to really be discussed and decided on. So we call upon your wisdom and not our own. We submit our will to yours. Let your will be done on this earth as it is in heaven. So Lord, we just pray for your presence. Thank you for your joy and your love and your peace that you give us all as we look to you and as you walk us through everyday life and living. We love you and we praise you so much. And in Jesus' name we all pray and say, Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, of the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We got you a little something. Don't go yet. I got you something. You got a little official. Look here, you got your long little lapel piece. I know you didn't get that, did you? I feel important now. As we move into planning and zoning tonight, I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Petrowski. And like any zoning hearing, we'll ask both sides. If anybody here in opposition, we'll give you the opportunity to come forward.
Chairman, item A is a request by Robert Little to allow a family cemetery on a 3.5 acre tract off of Ellis Church Road. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of this request. Section 98.46 of the CLDR lays out the specifications for a family cemetery, and it appears that Mr. Little can meet all of that criteria.
Any questions for Mr. Petrowski? Anyone here tonight in opposition on this request? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I made the motion to approve the family cemetery.
Have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it, thank you.
Chairman, item B is a request by Christopher Coleman for 1737 Round Oak Juliet Road to allow the placement of a single-wide mobile home on this property. This home would be relocated from the parcel next door. It's not introducing a new home to the area. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of this request.
Okay, any question from Mr. Petrowski on this one?
If they move it to the lot next door, can they then put one there? That would be a new.
The parcel next door has been granted a variance to allow the placement of a double-wide in that location. They couldn't quite meet setback requirements. And I believe they've obtained the permit now for that double-wide, but I'm not positive on that.
Good deal.
Any more questions? Anyone here tonight in opposition to this request? No one? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Chairman.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, aye? I have it. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Petrowski.
gentlemen.
We move on tonight to consent agenda and for approval of the minutes. Oh, we have a list of them tonight. We've got a work session on August 20th, 2019 at 4 o'clock. We've been busy. Work session on August 20th, 2019 at 5. We also had a third Tuesday, August 20th at 6. Executive session, August 20th. Another work session, August 21st. Work session, August 22nd. Our public hearing on the 22nd. Work session, August 23rd. Work session, August 26th. Work session, August 27th, and a call meeting on the 30th. Everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes, and I entertain a motion to approve. So moved. We have a motion to approve. Have a second?
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? None. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Let's have it. Oh, moving on. New business. Award pipe bid. Mr. Risner?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is another one of the items where we buy items on a regular basis for our operations, and this is drainage pipe for our Public Works Department. We compiled a list of the most commonly used pipe that we buy, and we sent that out to bid. We sent it to all the vendors on the GDOT approved list and listed it in all the places that we normally list bids. We did only receive one bid from Cherokee Culvert Company, which is here very close by. And so my recommendation would be to go ahead and award the bid to Cherokee Culvert.
Any questions for Mr. Resner?
Do we know how this pairs up to what we've paid in the past? Did it get us any benefit to bid it out?
I'd have to look and see. I'm not certain. In John's name.
Any questions for Mr. Resner? None, I entertain a motion to approve the bid.
So moved.
A motion, we have a second?
Second.
Second, any more discussion? None, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed. 4-1. Resolution to add member to the Development Authority. Mr. Resner, you're up again.
So some months back, the board expressed an interest in creating an additional seat on the Development Authority Board, with the idea being to appoint the leader of the College and Career Academy to that spot. And I think the board at that time approved that addition. After that, in conversation with Kevin Brown, the attorney for the Development Authority, there was a more formal process that we need to go through to actually make that change. And so he has drafted the resolution that's before you, which would add 2 additional membership positions and fill the one of them with fill the one seat with Laura Rackley. The second would remain vacant.
Any question for Mr. Resner?
So we have 7 members now, thought we had 6. And we were adding the 7.
Let's see, there's a list.
Maybe I gotta read a little farther.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Because it's
No,
8
it's
right
not.
now with Laura.
There's 8 with the new one, with the new member.
You have to have an odd number, isn't that correct?
Right, there would be a vacant spot for position number 9 that they're gonna try to fill.
So they have someone in mind or a department in mind for that?
Not that they've told.
I can't remember all those discussions that we had at those meetings, if there was ever someone they had in mind for that 9th spot or not. What's that now?
Do you want to know?
Do
Yeah.
they have somebody in mind for the vacant spot?
They were hoping to have somebody from like the DDA or somebody from the city.
Okay.
They're hoping to-
Sure.
to bring those, somebody from the city and make it about. That's not official.
Right.
Is that something that we
Is
would,
that off
Right.
the record, Debbie?
is that something that we would vote on?
Well, remember, we also talked about the mayor and there being some sort of incentive for him to participate or for the city to participate. So,
Right.
To include them.
Well, and you all have already voted to add the one position, but it needed to be a formal resolution. But this would add the 2 because you need to remain an odd
So,
number.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we accept this resolution to add a member to the Development Authority Board.
second.
We have a second, any more discussion? None, all in favor, aye? Aye. Let's have it. Mr. Resner, you getting worn out tonight? Budget amendment, Development Authority.
Back during the budget discussions, the board had some talk about increasing the amount of funding to the Development Authority, and there was some additional information, I think, that the board had asked for, and I know Josh Lurie provided some additional information, and and this was one where we said you could come back after the budget was adopted and add some more money to it if you saw fit. And so we went ahead and added it to this agenda for tonight. I don't know if y'all are ready to act on that at this point or not, but just went ahead and added it after those conversations.
And I missed it. Well, how much are they asking, or?
So I think the initial request was, I don't have it in front of me, I think it was,
No, like $500,000 at one.
Yeah.
14,000 or something like that.
So are they asking for that or ask for a reduced amount?
no, I think, so I think that was, the 515 or whatever it was included the staffing and money for grading work out at the site. You know, I feel certain they would be happy with just money for some additional funding. I have $100,000 in my head, maybe from that email from Josh. But
I think it was 75 and then 25 for benefits, but I think the question was exactly what are they funding that? 'Cause I mean, you know, we talked about Pat, and I understand they've got Pat Tompkins covered on that, so we're trying to, I guess it was, the question was, what's that 75? Was it 2 positions, 1 position? It looked like it was 2 positions to me.
And just in discussions I've heard at their board recently, and which personally I agree with, you know, the talk has been about, we either gotta get staff to promote and advertise and market what we got, or we're gonna keep doing the same thing, not getting anybody out there. So I personally, I think we gotta spend some money to make some money on it, when it comes to staffing. So, you know, I just don't know what the best structure is for that, if it's a full-time or a full-time and a part-time, or 2 part-times, or how. And you know, waters keep getting muddied a little bit, I think, based on history of us using some staff, sharing some staff with, I think, with the chamber, and, you know, formerly with Main Street maybe, or something.
I know Central Georgia Tech, Mr. Adams, I think, the secretary used to work for Central Georgia Tech and work with the Chamber Development Authority part-time or something like that.
And I think part of one of them's salary now is paid partly by the Development Authority and partly by the chamber, is that right? Not anymore?
I think, so I think the Development Authority has an agreement with the chamber where the chamber provides some administrative assistance and that type of thing. So there's a contractual agreement there, and I can't think what that amount is. But that basically goes to the chamber to help fund their operations and maybe in some part, to fund the chamber's operations, I guess is probably the best way to put it. The second person there, Haley's assistant, I think now is completely paid by the chamber.
Did they discuss how much it would cost to get a site pad ready, or?
The 515 amount, if that was right, that was just a portion of it. So they had divided a grading amount out over several years with, and so that 515 or whatever it was doesn't get you the whole thing certainly, but it gets you some piece of it. You know, and I think their eventual plan was to come back and ask for a little bit more each year to continue working on the grading there. I looked back at Josh's email, and it was 100,000 additional they were asking for staffing.
I can chime in on, I talked to Pat Tompkins this afternoon, and he was very excited because, you know, we've got a fuel wood operation out there that's basically landscaping the ground, and he could not believe how, number one, he couldn't believe how far along they had gotten. And he couldn't believe how far he could literally see at that point when he pulled up the cul-de-sac, because they've only been there a week now, and they've made a lot of progress. And he said that their next step was right now that once they were only going to do 300 acres on this trip. They wanted to get with Tim after it was cleared and just take a visual and just maybe get a plan on maybe just small sites that could possibly be developed out and whatnot. And he goes, it brings, as he said, never seeing that industrial site with no wood on it. He said he didn't realize exactly how open it was, and but that's what their plans are now. Once they get to 300 acres, the first 300 acres done, they were gonna get with Tim Ingram and just look at possible small sites, or, you know, what would be the best plan, just basically put it on paper to show. But I think the biggest issue right now is, you know, staffing's number one. We've got a group coming out of Atlanta tomorrow that's gonna meet with us at 10:30 that wants to go and look at the site. A promotional group to possibly help us even, you know, further on the promotion of this industrial site. So they'll be here at 10:30 in the morning, and they wanna do a drive out to that site also. But I think right now, my thoughts is the funding for the staff to go to Atlanta. Like I said, only question I had, you know, are we funding a full-time and a part-time, or if we got two people there? I think I would, do we ever get exact clarification? I mean, is that full-time will work just for us, or are they gonna be working for us and the other entities?
And how they come on with the sewer? I know that was always a big issue about being able to check. We got sewer in the industrial park. Are we making progress? We still a couple years away, or what's your thoughts on that?
The sewer out there, Tim, I think, is waiting on the railroad permits. He's working through, we're just about ready to be able to bid that out. We've got the easements out of the way and that type of thing. And so Tim is working through all the final construction plans and getting the railroad permits, I think, to.
So, and I guess what I'm hearing is that we're 3 months, 6 months, a year away from being able to put a check that we have sewer there, or it's gonna be still longer than that?
I think in terms of grad certification, I think we've done enough to be able to check that box. And I think Pat mentioned that when they were here a couple weeks ago. So from the state's standpoint, we've done enough, I think, to be able to check the box and say we have sewer there.
How about that?
And the fact that the sewer was already into progress, I think they
Yeah.
were counting it as, you know.
I just remember that always was a question, do you have sewer? Because if you can't mark that box in, you know,
But-
prospects wouldn't look at you.
And in the state's eyes, the fact that, yes, we're in the process of putting it in, they
They can
checked
put the check.
the yes box. So that's, I think that's how we're getting back, because you know, it's already in the planning stage.
Yeah.
I guess the two biggest hurdles were the right-of-way acquisition. We got it, and which saved us a pile of money. And I think the railroad, which is, like anything, it's gonna take time with the railroad, but once they get that, we can go forward with it.
So from Josh's email, he said, full-time director, 75,000 for salary and benefits, using 40,000 as an estimate of cost for benefits. Part-time administrative support, possibly by a partnership with the chamber, 25,000. Total 100,000 above the current budget. So one full-time director, one part-time administrative support.
So what is Haley doing right now? Does her position go away, or just goes just straight to the chamber at that point?
I don't know.
Okay, we just have like an executive session and discuss that, since it's personnel maybe, or? Okay, that's cool. So we just have.
Just-
It sounds like we don't have that information to even discuss in executive session
Yeah.
at
Okay.
this point.
Yeah,
Haley is the chamber director, and she's a Main Street manager.
Okay, so they just don't have
And
a.
the only thing she has to do with development right now is she's working toward getting economic development certification.
Okay.
You know, she just does the clerical work like Jason was talking about a while ago.
So my question was, what are we paying from the Development Authority to the Chamber or Main Street or whatever, that if we get an executive director, full-time and staff, we won't need that service that we're paying for, whatever that, if it's clerical or if it's, you know, record keeping or whatever it is, if we're paying 25,000, is that 25,000 gonna stay with us? Or do we keep paying 100 extra plus 25 for services that, for the chamber, or, you know, that's where I'm still a little confused,
Yeah.
is that?
rather than me trying to,
You need to draft some questions, you submit them to Josh or something?
yeah, maybe we could do that, or have Josh and Haley come back, and I'd hate to give y'all bad information and you make a decision based on something I say that's not correct, so.
Can we come down to the next meeting? That would be an executive session discussion, wouldn't it? And we've already got personnel on the next one, so if we can invite them to the next one, so we clarify, get some clarification
And we'll talk about, it may not be an executive session
whatever it needs to
issue,
be.
but we
Right.
can talk about it beforehand and see if,
Decide if it needs to go to executive session or
Right.
open.
Yeah.
So we can have clarification of which, that's all, I mean, I'm all for funding it. I just wanna know what we're funding and,
right.
funding the extra staff as far as making this happen. 'Cause we need boots on the ground. We need people in Atlanta, and they need to be able to have a face they can relate to. And, to get the interest we're having right now, we don't need to lose this momentum at all. So if we can address that at the next meeting, we'll do that. All right. Anything else on this? Mr. Resner, we got you again. The CGTC annual agreement.
So this is something that we've done every year, at least during the few years I've been here, and we give Central Georgia Technical College $20,000 for the various services outlined here. They actually give us more than that back in the way of rent. So we come out ahead with the whole deal. But this is just the annual agreement between Central Georgia Tech and Jones County.
Any questions, Mr. Resner? If not, I entertain a motion to enter into this agreement.
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. No old business, Mark, tonight. Department heads. Rec department got anything tonight? Mr. Resner?
On behalf of the sheriff's office, the sheriff asked me if I'd talk with you a little bit about their washing machine situation over there. They've, of course, during the budget process, the funding to replace the 2 washing machines was approved. The sheriff called today and said that the one washing machine was out. I think what I understand is the second machine is having issues, and I think they had somebody over there today working on it. I have searched high and low over the last several weeks trying to find a way to a statewide contract or a purchasing cooperative or collaborative that where we could buy this through one of those sources where it's already been bid and negotiated. I haven't had any success, and so the sheriff was asking if the board would be willing to, just given the nature of the situation there, if you consider waiving the bid requirements for that. I talked with Ashley some earlier, and I don't know if we can do that tonight or if you'd have to wait until another meeting, but just wanted to kind of present that to all of you, and just on behalf of the sheriff, wanted to bring you up to speed on that.
Well, and I spoke with the sheriff today as well, and the one machine has been out for a couple of months, so it would have been good to know at the time that went out, so we could have gone into the bid process at that point. The situation we're in now is that they're down to one that they're running pretty much day and night that's now causing them problems, so it becomes more of a dire situation than it would have been a couple months ago, but they can't go without a washing machine. And so it's similar to the issue we had last week with the fire truck. If it goes out to bid, once we finish the bid process and then the lead time to actually get that machine in, they could be without any machine for quite a period of time. So it could be a time restraint, time limitation issue which would meet the classifications of requirements to purchase without the bid process. But what I told the sheriff earlier was that y'all really can't vote on that in the comment section. It needs to be on the agenda for y'all to vote for it not to go out to bid and to just be purchased through that exception. Unless it's an emergency, but they're having issues with it, but it's operable. And so it's not really an emergency, so it really needs to go on the next agenda, and you all vote at that point if you're gonna waive the bid process and allow purchase.
Okay, let me muddy the water a little bit more. Can we, can we have a consensus that should it stop tomorrow,
Then it would be an emergency.
then it would be an emergency and he has authority to get one, and we'll ratify it at the next meeting, or we'll vote on it next meeting? I mean, if it becomes an emergency where he doesn't have one, we acknowledge that it's a sanitary issue without.
Yeah, they'll have to, what we had talked about today is, you know, if it breaks tonight, they'll have to take everything up to the laundromat.
Wow.
But, which is gonna be difficult, but, I mean, the machine is operating, so it's not an emergency right now. But you all could certainly, you know, vote that if in the next 2 weeks,
If it
it
becomes
goes down
emergency.
and is non-operable, then, you know, it would certainly be an emergency situation, but if not, it needs to go on the agenda.
I can entertain a motion in the event of emergency situation. The sheriff has a go ahead on the new one. We can do that. I'm looking at you. You're the one that said it.
I really would rather, if
Yeah.
there's an emergency, at that point you vote
Yeah.
on it,
Yeah.
not in the comment section.
Okay, so-
We sort of allow for the possibility of an emergency.
Well, we know what happens when you have an emergency, Chairman. I just request that we put it on the next agenda due to time constraints. We'll handle emergencies when they get here.
I got one emergency at a time, right?
We're gonna hope the next 2 weeks there's not an
safe.
emergency.
Maybe Mr.
So,
Hassett got a
yeah,
couple
you have
of,
to-
couple of
Some
speed
speed
queens
queens.
over there. He can
Yeah.
get there and hook up for him and help him out.
If an emergency does arise, we can address it prior to then, but
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Resnick?
I think that's about all I have. We're closing tomorrow on the Schneider Electric loan, and so we'll have that money in place tomorrow, and we're meeting with them, pre-construction meeting in about 2 weeks. I think we're working to get that scheduled, so we're excited to get that project up and running, and
Right now?
yeah, I think that's about it.
Either one of the young ladies up here got anything? No? Just ready for the baby girl to come on?
yes.
I got you. Well, I was asked to read this. It's about domestic violence awareness banquet. And the theme this year is "Can You Hear Me?" And the date is October 11th, 2019 at 6 p.m. Located at Genesco Clubhouse, 834 Highway 22 East in Gray, Georgia. And they said dinner will be served, no cost to the awesome community of Jones County. And the deadline for guest registry is September 27th. And that's before 4:30 p.m. Jones County District Attorney Office, Nancy Gordon, can be contacted at 986-3166. And they got a guest speaker as a Geraldine Grant Dennis, retired domestic violence rape crisis center director in Milledgeville, Georgia. Asked me to read this for them tonight. So if anybody'd like to see this, it's right here. And y'all are all cordially invited. Citizens' comments tonight, anyone? Oh, it's been quiet on the citizens' comments department. Y'all sit back there just as quiet. All right.
Are we on the comments with the washing machine too?
I'm sorry?
Are we on the comments with the washing machine too?
Comments?
Yeah.
The washing machine?
Yeah, if you want to come forward and speak, just give us your full name and address for the record. That's what citizen comments were.
I'm Christopher Ryan Coleman, live at 196 Old River Road, Juliet, Georgia. The wash machine place, I see exactly where everybody's going, but I want to put my 2 cents in from doing work with everywhere for the fire department with my personal job. Should the emergency arise and something go wrong, then yes, I see approving it. But I think the problem should be handled before time is called, before it's called. With it being operable right now, it's not saying they could go down tomorrow, get it fixed, and go down again and again and again. Something's already broke. I'd say fix it before it gets even worse. Before the problem arises, that you have to make that decision on an emergency. That's just me.
Well, the one that's operable is working. The other one's gone. We have to buy a new unit.
Right.
That's why we're talking about the bid process. So it's 2 separate units, sort of 2 separate issues.
Right.
In our budget, that was in our budget request for new washers because they were down. And obviously, we had to wait for the budget, which we approved last Friday, to go through in order for the sheriff to go forward with this. So, He's got, how many years out of these washers? I think he just.
22.
22 years out of these washers, so I think we got a money's worth on it. But-
Oh, yeah.
But can you imagine a bunch of inmates sitting there without a washing machine?
Oh, yeah.
It can,
Get horrible.
oh, yeah. Like I said, we might have to be, then Mr. Haskins trying out some speed queen. But,
Right.
Yeah. But like I said, we're trying to do everything we can possible to stay within our bid, our bid process and whatnot. And in the event that we have an emergency, like, obviously, we'll have to address it at that time.
Right.
We appreciate your comment.
Yes, sir.
Anytime, come see us again.
Are we allowed to leave now since our planning's only thing is done?
Oh, you have to stay till after we leave.
I've got a fire meeting in like 30 minutes.
You can go out his business. We appreciate your participation, though.
Thanks.
If there's no citizen comments, where are we at? Commissioner comments. Commissioner Martin, you want to start us off tonight?
All right, sure, Chairman. Just want to thank everybody for the budget process. It's never easy. I think we're getting closer to a cleaner budgeting process. I do wish we were able to save some more money and then, of course, allocate those savings to some of the other areas, and it wasn't a wish list, because I think we do have an opportunity to amortize some debt down and even roll back some taxes. I do hope we get our fire truck quickly, because I missed Friday's meeting, so I wasn't sure if we talked about the fire truck. It's on order, paid for, checks in the mail. Excellent. It'll be here when?
He was supposed to. 2 to 3 weeks. Did he get a confirmation on it?
I don't know. I'd have to check on that.
I understand he was gonna make the call, and they were gonna move it out of the arm's reach of the hurricane to Atlanta or somewhere.
Okay. All right.
Precise.
Excellent. Well, just wanted to make sure that happened. Again, excited about this next year, and I presume there was a raise involved in the budget, or no? I missed that last part.
Doing this salary study.
Salary study.
And the
All
money's
right.
allocated for it.
Okay.
Set aside an amount equal to 4% of all salaries to implement the findings of the salary study.
Gotcha. All right. I'm good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Robinson?
Oh, thank you, sir, but I'm good.
You're good. Commissioner Pitt?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I want to invite everybody out to our foot golf event on Saturday, and hopefully the chairman got his toes clipped. So he's ready to play. Registration's at 9, kickoff at 10. Excited about it. It's a lot of fun, and I'm going to go ahead and put a plug out there. I talked to Jason. He said his son's like, when do we play again? I don't know if he enjoyed foot golf or ride around in a golf cart, but we'll have both on Saturday, and look forward to a fun day at the golf course.
I did get my toenails fixed.
All
I
right,
got me a pedicure the next day.
All right, yeah.
They're not looking pretty, but they're better than they were.
But you're ready to kick, all right?
I'll be out of town
Oh, you're out of
Saturday.
town, okay.
I had to change my schedule from last weekend to this weekend to Florida to do some work down there.
That's fine.
I
Well,
will
we can't do
at
way
least
for
I
it,
have the
right?
course record for the most attempts at getting it in at the point.
That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Kitchen?
No comment, Chairman. I did have a question just for clarification. I've been asked a couple of them, and I just wanted to make sure that it was our intent, the 4% earmark for the salary study, I guess, to right the ship. If it took 1%, a 4% allocation, it took 1% to bring the ones that are salary studied are not in line, bring them in line, we would then, the other 3% would be across the board. Is that the intent?
Yeah, well, I think that could be however y'all decide when, I don't know that we thought it out that far.
Yeah.
We just said we'll set aside the 4%, and I think once you get the study back, you can just kind of see where it is and what you have left to use. Our existing pay scale is in steps at 2%, so you probably have to allocate either, 2 or some amount involving the 2, but
So we don't know whether it's gonna be completely, all 4% is gonna be taken to get the ship righted, or if it's 1% or 2% to ride it, and then the 2% is to the input across the board increase.
yeah, I think at this point, we don't really have any idea.
But-
Could be that the 4% is not enough to write, but,
Right.
Okay.
That it?
All I got, Chairman.
Commissioner Pitts, I need your help.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Thank you. Thank everybody for coming.